Hey everyone, in this video, we're going to cover all things product details testing in Shogun. First thing we'll cover is the details that can be tested. And we'll also go into how you can get started setting up your first test and the theme duplication process. We'll also cover how variants and the variant data will be displayed across your storefront. And finally, finish the video by talking about some common troubleshooting issues you might run into and things you should keep in mind when you're running your tests. Let's dive into the video. All right, so what product details can be tested in Shogun? It's actually pretty simple. Product title, product images, and product prices can be tested. Coming soon, we also have product descriptions that will be able to be tested. So look out for that in the coming weeks. Keep in mind, if you want to test product prices, you will be required to upgrade to the unlimited plan to get access to that. But those other product details that I mentioned will be available on the advanced plan. All right, so at this point, you're excited, you want to run a product detail test. Here's what you need to do to get started. Number one, make sure on the advanced plan or the unlimited plan. Those are the plans that are going to have access to the product details testing feature. So if you're not on one of those two plans, make sure you upgrade. Next, there's going to be a process for theme prep and duplication. Our AI agent is going to duplicate your theme and automatically inject the code in certain locations on your theme that are going to be necessary to display your variants across the storefront, okay? This is a step that's required. It only takes about 15 or 20 minutes. It's not too bad. So that's step number one before you can actually run your tests, right? Once that's set up, then you can configure your tests like you would configure any other tests within Shogun. So you name your test, you add the details, you add your different metrics that you want to track, like any other test. Then you're going to review everything. You'll review your theme, make sure that the experience is as predicted. If you run into issues, have no fear. We'll cover that later and how you can troubleshoot. And then once everything looks good, you're going to launch your test. All right. Now, I'm going to jump into the app right now, and I'm going to show you exactly how easy it is to set up your test, including the theme duplication process. So sit back and relax, and I'll show you how it's done. Okay, once you're in the app and you've selected the product details test type, you'll land on the product details test configuration page. And this is where you're going to go ahead and duplicate your theme. Now we're going to want to go ahead and click duplicate our theme. This is going to allow us to run that AI agent that's going to inject the code necessary to be able to run these product details tests and show the variants across your storefront. It's going to take about 15 to 25 minutes. So just sit back and relax, and you can come back to this page when it's done to start your tests. All right, folks, we're in the app and our theme duplication is done. So we're going to now add a title for our test, and we're going to add a note to let us know what we're testing, so we can keep that in mind. And next steps, you're going to select your product. So we're going to test, in this case, the Anderson sunglasses from our product catalog. And I want to go ahead and actually test the order of the product images. So I want to test what my lead image is, and I want to test the name. So we're going to put in a new name, Anderson Sunnies, and we're going to change the product image in terms of the feature image. We're going to create a new feature image there, switch the order around. And for us, this test, I'm just going to leave add to carts as the success metric that we're tracking. And audiences, I'm going to leave this alone, but here you could add one if you wanted to. And I'm going to go ahead and review. And then once I'm done reviewing, I'm going to basically publish the test. And that's it, folks. It's that simple. Again, first step, duplicate your theme. Next step, configure your test. The test configuration is very similar to any other test you can configure within Shogun after you have set up your theme. Once you've got your test live, now we need to talk about how variants are going to be delivered throughout your storefront. Okay. Now keep in mind, when we talk about product details testing, we're not just talking about the product page itself. Your products show up all over your storefront. It could be on your homepage, could be on collections, could be anywhere. And the magic of product details testing in Shogun is that the variants will be delivered across the entire storefront wherever that product might show up. So this is what differentiates this test type from, say, a split URL or a simple page test. Homepage mentions, like I said, product recommendations, anywhere where the product's going to show up, those variant details will change and be consistent across the storefront for the user group that happens to be exposed to the variants, okay? So this is really important nuance. And there's a bit of a difference between Shopify Plus and non-Shopify Plus stores. And so I'm going to dive into the differences there because there is a little bit of a nuance that you need to be aware of for each, whether or not you're on Shopify Plus or if you're not a Plus store. So I'm going to dive into that now. All right, so let's talk Shopify Plus versus non-Plus stores. If you're on Shopify Plus, Shopify gives you the ability to customize your checkout page and your payment confirmation or thank you page, okay? If you're not on Shopify Plus, you don't have the ability, unfortunately, to edit those pages. Now, what that means for Shogun is if you're on Shopify Plus, we give you the ability to show your variants in your tests on those two spots. If you're not on Shopify Plus, unfortunately, your customers will see the variants across your storefront up into the point of checkout. And then at that point, they will see the original, whatever for that product, the original experience was, they'll then see that at that point. Okay. So this is an important nuance specifically for Shopify Plus versus non-Plus stores using the product details feature. And I want to call out, you will see a disclaimer if you're not on Shopify Plus. You will see this disclaimer which says your customers may have a degraded experience. And all that means is exactly what I just explained, that when they go through the variant experience, they might, when they get to checkout, they will certainly see the original. They will not see your variant. So it'll change, right? And so may not necessarily be a deal breaker. You can still test up to the point of adding to cart, right? So if you want to test what's my add to cart rate, for example, of when I make a product detail change, you can still do that. And that's not going to impact this limitation. It will impact if you're curious of further downstream where, okay, well, what's the checkout rate or what's my revenue or different things. If you want to go beyond add to cart, that's when this degraded experience will come into play and something you need to keep in mind if you're not on Shopify Plus. Okay. So bottom line, if you're not on Shopify Plus, it's not a deal breaker. Okay. Don't be too upset. You can definitely still run these tests. You just want to keep in mind that it could impact the customer experience if they're obviously seeing a variant and then they're seeing the original further down in the checkout. That's why we have the disclaimer in the app. And for Shopify Plus merchants, you won't have this problem. So you have the ability to edit these two pages. This is not going to be an issue for you. If you're not on Shopify Plus, this is a consideration. And unfortunately, something we can't do anything about here at Shogun, but we want to just let you know, those are your options for product details testing, depending on your plan type on Shopify. All right, now let's talk troubleshooting. What happens if you run into some issues? You could have an issue when you do your initial setup for your theme duplication. Don't worry about this though. If something looks off when you go to preview, simply retry the theme setup, okay? So if you see something's wrong, first step there is to go ahead and retry the theme duplication and having the AI agent inject the code, okay? So if you still have a problem after retrying though, look, that's why we're here. support@getshogun.com. Just go ahead and drop us an email, send us a message, and we'll be happy to help you work through that issue, okay? So if you have something that happens, keep that in mind. If you need to make an edit to your theme while you're running the test or after running the test, keep in mind when we do the theme duplication process, what happens in the background is we're making a duplication of your theme, we're doing the code edits in the background, and then we're allowing you to review those edits to make sure everything looks good. After you've reviewed and you set your test live, we actually publish that theme, and as that becomes your current theme. So from that moment forward, you can make edits to that theme, to your current theme in that case, if you need to do any other further changes to your store, okay? That current theme then we publish on your behalf after you've reviewed, then becomes your sort of source of truth. That becomes sort of your new theme. And then anytime you want to run a test moving forward, if you want to run another product details test, you should be good to go because that we've made the changes that we need to make for your theme. All right. So if you need to make storefront changes that are not test related, you should be able to do that after you've published your test and we've published your new theme, your new and improved theme that now has that Shogun testing code that's now on it. Okay. And as a general best practice, try to avoid making large sweeping changes to your storefront while you're running a test. That's just a general best practice that we recommend. while you're running a test, if you want to have the cleanest data possible on how your test performs, you want to control the variables, which could include not doing major updates to your storefront while you're testing. Okay. But again, support@getshogun.com. That's what you want to reach out to if you have any issues with setup or anything else or any questions related to product details testing. That's why we're here. We love hearing from you, so reach out to us. I hope you enjoyed this video and look forward to seeing you in the next one.